Well, welcome back to Planet Doug. It's another Saturday, it's another weekend. So this is behind the scenes for Saturday, January 20th. And I'm sitting here in my room at the Wisma Sederhana Hotel with my second cup of coffee of the morning. And yeah, welcome to Behind the Scenes. A couple of random thoughts to start the day. One is I noticed in the news that the volcano from my old village near Bukittinggi is erupting again. So that's Mount Merapi with the letter A, different from Mount Merapi with the letter E, which is on Java. So Mount Merapi, my volcano, is erupting again. And it's been erupting sporadically ever since the first eruption late last year. And I guess this one is bad enough, the most recent one, that they shut down the airport in Padang again. And yeah, I always end up feeling so bad for people in general when that happens. Like maybe you've planned a holiday to Sumatra and you're going to fly into Padang, go out to the islands. You know, a lot of Australians fly to Padang, and then they go directly to the port, hop on a boat, and it takes them out to the surfing islands off the coast of Padang. A lot of people do that, and of course it's an expensive trip, and they have to plan it in advance. They've got a flight, and they're booking in their massive surfboards. You know, it's a big deal in their life, and then suddenly that whole airport is closed because of the volcano. I mean, that would disrupt people's plans, and then local people, of course, people in Padang who are on business or visiting family. It's a small airport, but it's a very busy one, and then people are flying to, you know, all over Sumatra and to Jakarta out of that airport. And yeah, shut down that airport plays havoc with people's lives. And luckily in my lifetime I've never had to deal with that very much. I recently told the story about how my flight back to Malaysia was canceled. It's an Air Asia flight it was an Air Asia flight on February 3rd into KL, and then I woke up one morning and I got an email from Air Asia that says, hey, sorry, flight's canceled. And you're like, what? Can you do that? You know, it always strikes me as funny that they can actually do that, because an international flight is no joke. You know, you're dealing with connecting flights, you're dealing with visa issues, you know, visas expiring, so, and also like vacation logistics. You know, people book their flights, their international flights, very carefully because they have to take into account their, you know, their logistics of their own plans, people meeting them at the airport, you know, hotel reservations, you know, for their departure and arrival, visas expiring for this country, new visa for the next country. I mean, there's a lot that goes into an international flight. And then when out of the blue you get an email that says, oh, we canceled it. Sorry. You know, yeah, it can really have an effect on your life. And then you shut down an entire airport where all the flights are canceled and you don't know how long it's going to go on. Yeah, that can really cause trouble. So I feel so bad when I think about all the people that are affected by things like this. And so the big Planet Doug story was yesterday. I went out to do something in Medan, and I brought all my cameras with me. So it was a life event and a Planet Doug video event. So I thought I would talk about that. I haven't edited the video from this at all because this all happened yesterday. And when I got back to the hotel, of course, I sat down here and I took all of my memory cards and copied all the files to my various hard drives so that I have them available when I do finally have the time to edit that video. And that has actually gotten more and more complicated, really, like lately, because I guess I do it to myself, but I shot video with my 360 camera, GoPro number 1, GoPro number 2, and I shot video with my smartphone. So that means I end up having to copy video files from 4 different devices. And most of the time, I'm shooting with the 2 GoPros simultaneously. So in the end, I'll have duplicate video of the same scene from those two GoPros, and then they have to be kept separate, and then I sync them together when I'm editing. So, and I shot, like I said, with the 360 video, so I have to copy the 360 video to my external hard drives for storage. I always make 2 copies, but then I also have to make a 3rd copy because those video files have to be copied to my smartphone because it's 360 video, and then I have to, you know, reframe all of that video to turn it from 360 video into regular 2D video. And once I'm done that, that then has to be copied to my external hard drives. And I take photos and videos on here. That has to be copied to a device and then copied from that device to the external hard drive. And then I've also got audio files because I'm recording audio on all the various cameras. It's audio that's embedded into the video track itself, but I'm also capturing external audio in my Rode microphone internally. Then I make sure to keep a copy of that as well, just in case the original audio is bad or it didn't work very well or it didn't record at all, and then I have a backup in the internal recording of my Rode. And sometimes the internal recording is a bit better because it, for whatever reason, the internal audio from the Rode has more like noise canceling built into it, like it drowns out background noise much more than the Rode audio that's recorded on the camera. I don't really understand how that happens, but you know, if you're walking down a busy road with a lot of traffic noise, the GoPro audio that came from the Rode has a lot of the traffic noise, which I actually like. I like having the background noise. But if you listen to the same audio that was recorded internally by the Rode, you really just hear my voice and you hear much less of the traffic noise. So, you know, depending on the situation, I may choose one audio track over the other. So things have gotten quite a bit more complicated. And then yesterday I ended up doing 3 different activities, at least 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 of them. And they're probably going to end up being 3 separate videos. I've got the main video, but then I did 2 other things as I was walking back to my hotel. I just dropped off at a couple of places. And normally I would put it all together in one video because it's basically my day in Medan, and I go here and I go here and I go here and then I walk all the way back. But in this case, I didn't really think of it that way. So I'm probably going to separate them. So then I have to create different folders for those events. So for event number 1, I'll have so many different folders. I've got Insta360 folder, GoPro 1 folder, GoPro 2 folder, smartphone folder, Rode audio folder. So at least 5 different folders that I can think of, but I have to create 5 different folders for event number 1, 5 folders for event number 2, and then 5 folders for event number 3, and they all have to be labeled with the date and the subject and the camera that the video or the audio came from. And it, yeah, by the time the dust settled on just getting back to my room and copying the video files into my archive system for future editing, a lot of time has gone by, a surprising amount. And of course, I'm recharging all the batteries and keeping track of all the memory cards. So I did all of, yeah, I did all of that when I got back last night. But I'm still 1 or 2 videos behind, I guess, in terms of editing. I didn't do any editing of that video yet, and I didn't reframe any of the 360 video yet. I'll do that this morning once I'm done talking to you. But the main Planet Doug video event from yesterday was not a museum, was not a historic building, was not a heritage site, was not a market. It was going out for a burger. And this all happened because I was in the mood for something like that. In fact, I had seen a burger place maybe, I don't know, a kilometer away from my hotel in that direction, I think. But anyway, it's sort of in my neighborhood. I spotted this thing on Google Maps, and people were saying they had really good burgers. So I'd already been thinking about going out and having a burger. It's a nice change after, you know, tons and tons of nasi goreng and mie ayam bakso and, all your typical Indonesian dishes. It's occasionally nice to throw in a burger or something like that. Really hits the spot, as they say. So I had been thinking about burgers, and then a Planet Doug subscriber, left a comment, and they suggested another burger place called well, in their comment, I think in their comment they called it M-Burger Kalinga, or maybe they just called it M-Burger, I'm not sure. But when I looked for it on Google Maps, I found it very easily. It's a very popular place here, very high ratings for the quality of their burgers, so I was really excited about that. But it does say on Google Maps, M-Burger Kalinga. And the whole experience of going to M-Burger Kalinga is really interesting from a filming point of view, kind of from a research point of view, and just from a burger point of view. Like, the experience itself was wonderful. So there's kind of a lot of interesting things happened. And which perspective will I start with? I guess I'll start with the filming perspective, because my idea was to go there in a becak, the motorcycle with the sidecar. I could walk there, and I would normally walk there. It turns out, I thought it was like 2.5 kilometers away, but it was really only 1.5 kilometers. But I'm telling you, in the streets of Medan, with these intersections and that traffic, depending on the time of day, 1.5 kilometers of walking in Medan, that could be the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest. I mean, it is a challenge, to put it mildly. A lot of barriers in your way. The traffic flow is very challenging for a pedestrian. So walking there takes a lot of energy, mental and physical. And I thought in this case, I wanted to get there feeling fresh, so that I could really enjoy this burger, rather than getting there hot and sweaty and at the end of my mental rope, from the challenge of walking. So I was going to take a becak, and since I was going to take a becak, I thought I would shoot video with a 360 camera, because with a 360 camera you can do some fun things like, extend the selfie stick and then lift it up into the air above the motorcycle, and then you get like a 360 view of all the streets around you and all the traffic around you. And I did that long ago. I took a becak to go sort out my SIM card, and I did it then, and I really enjoyed how that video looked. So I wanted to sort of recreate that experience, and I figured I would be chatting with the becak driver. And sometimes a 360 video is good if you're going to be interacting with people a lot, because you don't have to think about the camera. As I've talked about before, I climb into the becak and I want to say hi to the driver, and I want to get that on video with the GoPro. Suddenly I'm now holding the GoPro way out here to get both of us on the video. And sometimes you feel awkward doing that, so you end up not getting any video of all of your interactions with people. But with the 360 camera, all you do is just hold it in front of you, and then you can just talk to him, talk to him, talk to him, talk to him, and all of it is being recorded on video. And then you can reframe it later, pointing the camera in any direction you like. And of course, you pay a penalty in terms of the video quality is extremely poor, low resolution and dark, but, cameras, right? You got to pick something. So anyway, I thought I would take the 360 camera, and I went out onto the main street, and I had some trouble finding one this time. Usually there's one like right there waiting at the corner or something. This time there were none on the streets, and I had to walk a little bit, but eventually I saw one coming in the main traffic flow, and I kind of waved the guy down, and he pulled over. And I knew I wanted to go to M-Burger Kalinga, but it was a pretty safe guess. He would know what that was. So I chose a nearby landmark, which is the Sun Plaza shopping mall, and he would know that. And I took a picture of it on Google Maps, like I went down to Street View on Google Maps so that I could see the front of the shopping mall, and I saved it as a screenshot. and then I could show him. So when I went up to the Becak driver, I told him, I didn't work out the Indonesian in advance, unfortunately. I knew I should have done that, but I didn't. So I didn't know how to say, you know, can you please take me to Sun Plaza in Indonesia? I kind of forgot about the Indonesian language. I've been so busy with video editing and museum experiences and heritage buildings and doing all this research. My language learning has fallen by the wayside. It isn't at the front of my brain right now. Even the numbers are sort of not there anymore. So I kind of walked up to the guy and then I went, oh shoot, I don't know how to speak Indonesian. And I hate speaking English on video because it just makes me look like an arrogant foreigner who just wanders around assuming that everybody can speak English. But anyway, I went up to him and I think I just said Sun Plaza, you know, you have to resist the temptation to speak like a caveman. Somehow you think if you take your English and reduce it to a simplified form, somehow that's more understandable. So you have to really resist this weird temptation to go up to someone and say, me go Sun Plaza, you take Sun Plaza, me, you know. It's just ridiculous to speak like that, but it is like a human instinct to do that. It's like weird. But anyway, I think I just said to him, you know, Sun Plaza, and he seemed to know what I meant. And then I took out the photograph just to make sure, and I showed him what Sun Plaza looked like. You know, Sun Plaza shopping mall? And he said, yep, he knew what it was. And I asked him how much. I don't think berapa harganya is the right phrase to ask how much is a fare going to cost. I think you're supposed to say something else, but it's the only way I know how to ask how much. So I did say, you know, berapa harganya, you know, before I got into the Becak, and he said, 20.000. 20.000? Yeah, 20. 20,000 rupiah, which, as far as I understand it, that would be a standard fare. If you wanted to go from here to the train station, maybe that would be 15,000, Sun Plaza, 20,000. I've done this trip before by Becak, and it was 20,000 then. And I've asked local people. I actually asked the receptionist at my hotel, you know, if you went to Sun Plaza by Becak, how much would you expect to pay? And she said 20,000 would be the fare. So all the Becak drivers that I talk to who all say 20,000 right off the bat, I really like that because I do not, this comes up later in the story, I do not like haggling. You know, if you want to charge me more than a local person, fine. That's how the world works. So if the guy said 30,000, okay, I'm not going to haggle with him. I'm not going to say, oh, that's the foreigner price. You know, I want to pay 20,000. As long as he's in the ballpark, somewhere near 20,000, I'm just going to say yes to whatever he says, and then we're going to go, right? So, but he said 20,000, so I hopped in and off we went. And I was holding the 360 camera right here so that I was hoping, you know, chat with him a little bit. And then as we started moving, I extended the selfie stick and then I raised it up above. I stuck my hand out the side and above the roof. It was raining a little bit, but I didn't think it would hurt the camera. It wasn't that bad. And then I do this weird thing. I don't know how it works out in the video, but I still have the microphone attached because I've got the Rode Wireless Go on the 360 camera, which is, I don't know, 10 feet above my head. But I'm inside the Becak and I start talking. So I'm basically narrating the video that is being recorded from 10 feet above my head. And of course, the Becak driver looks at me like I'm completely out of my mind. It's like, are you talking to a ghost? Like, who are you talking to? I mean, if I was sitting there, you know, with a GoPro right in front of me, talking into the camera, he's like, oh yeah, he's recording on camera, but I'm not holding a camera. The camera is way up above our heads, and I'm just talking. And he's like, what? Anyway, but I've got the microphone here, and then I'm recording on the camera up there. So I did that for a while, and then yeah, we rode down the historic street, Kesawan Street, and then I pulled in the camera, stopped recording, And then when I got to another interesting area where when I wanted to record, you know, I extended the camera and raised it up above my head, and I'm talking and talking because we're passing all these buildings that I'm familiar with, and then we turned a corner and I'm narrating the journey, and then we finally get to Sun Plaza, and then I pull down the camera because I want to get ready to get out of the Bachak and pay the guy and whatnot. And of course, when I pull in the camera, I look at it, it wasn't recording. I forgot to hit the record button. And that may sound like the dumbest thing to do on the planet, but it's really easy to do, particularly if you ever introduce one unknown element, because hitting record is almost like you almost do it with muscle memory. So when I'm out there in my GoPro and I'm talking into the GoPro, I don't remember hitting the record button, but I do it all the time instinctively. It's just built into my muscles. It's built into my reflexes now. Here's the GoPro, hit record, I hear the beep, I see the red light, now I'm talking. But I don't remember doing any of that. It's sort of like when you leave your house and then you get out on the street, you think back, like, oh, did I close the door and lock it? You know, you don't remember doing it, but you've done it 1,000 times and you just do it on autopilot. But as soon as I switch to a different camera, 360 camera that I'm not as familiar with, and I'm in a Bachak, and I'm trying to keep track of things, you know, I've got my knapsack, I'm kind of a little bit concerned about it. A motorcycle thief could reach into the Bachak and snatch it, so I'm trying to keep it safe. I'm watching where we're going down the street, you know, I'm monitoring our progress on Google Maps, I'm chatting with the driver. There's a lot of new things I'm doing all of a sudden, and I ended up extending the camera selfie stick, and then I have to put it out in traffic without smacking somebody in the head, because motorcycles are like zipping past us, right? So I can't just stick it out horizontally and then raise it. I've kind of got to put it out gradually, and then, you know, just to make sure I don't hit anybody. So I'm doing all of that, and because I was doing all of that, I completely forgot to hit the record button, and I didn't record any of that on video. I have it all on audio, like my narration is now recorded internally. So that's a good example of where the internal audio ability of a microphone saves you, because since I forgot to hit record on the camera, I didn't record any video or audio in the camera, but I still recorded audio inside the Rode internally. So even though I have no video, I do have the audio of that experience. I don't think I'm going to use it this time, but if it was something really, really important, I could somehow put B-roll in, or just keep the audio and then put photographs in, like do something, you know, but I still do have the audio, which is kind of interesting. As soon as I got out of the Bachak, I hit record on the camera. I was very careful to do it this time. And then I extended the selfie stick, and it's a very, very busy area around Sun Plaza, like right outside of any shopping mall. Tons of people going in and out, traffic snarl outside of Sun Plaza, and a lot of people there, of course, and you know, a lot of local people were, you know, saying things to me and waving and saying hello, things like that. But anyway, I walked along the Sun Plaza, and then I had to cross the street, and then the M Burger Kalinga was like 2 blocks down and 1 block over. So it was very close to Sun Plaza, which is why I chose it as my, you know, destination for the Bachak driver. And I was going to switch over to the GoPro because I didn't want to use the 360 camera at the burger place, because the GoPro gets better quality video. So I did plan on switching, but I didn't do it right away because it was way too busy in front of the mall. I need a quieter place in order to sit down, open up my knapsack, and switch cameras. You know, it's a complicated procedure. So I was walking along with the 360 camera, and right across the road was the Mariamam Hindu temple, because right beside Sun Plaza is the city gate, like an archway that indicates the entrance into Medan's Little India. That's the neighborhood of Little India. And I know that neighborhood quite well because on previous trips to Medan, that's where I stayed. My very first time here, I believe was it my first time? I can't remember. But anyway, I think it was my first time. I stayed at the home of a couch surfer. And his house was sort of in that neighborhood, though I didn't realize it at the time. And then on subsequent visits, I stayed at a backpacker hostel, which was in a back alley right beside Sun Plaza. So I stayed in that neighborhood quite a bit before. I don't think at that time I knew it was the official Little India of Medan. I saw a lot of Indian restaurants and Indian people because historically, of course, Indian workers were brought in to work in the plantations, back in the colonial days. So there is a sizable Indian population here in Medan today. But I didn't think of it as Little India. I just accepted it. Oh, look here, seeing Indian restaurants all over Southeast Asia, that's just normal. So I never thought of it at the time. And I don't think the gateway existed back then. I think that's new. But now that I see the gateway, and actually I had plans before to shoot a video about Little India because I was reading about it, in like tourist attractions of Medan articles, and they say, oh, you really must visit Little India and sample the cuisine. I thought, oh wow, I didn't know there was a Little India in Medan. I really should go there. And I went all the way there to shoot a video, and when I got there, I was like, oh, I know this neighborhood really, really well. I just didn't know it was Little India. And I ended up not actually shooting a video that day. Anyway, the Mariamam Temple, which is the main temple of the Indian community there, is right across the road. And since I had the 360 camera, I kind of shot some video of the temple over the fence, over the gate. Because as I found out, they actually have a sign there, I didn't realize it, that gives you the hours. And the temple is open from 6 till noon and then from 4 till 8. But every time I've been anywhere near the temple on this time in Medan, it's always been closed. And I just got the impression that, well, this temple is never open to the public, so I kind of forgot about it. But it turns out it is open, but you got to go there early in the morning. And then I was always there in the afternoon, I guess. So anyway, when I was there yesterday, lunchtime, it was closed. But since I had the 360 camera, and I have 2 Insta360 selfie sticks, so I connected them together. So I extended one of them, and I screwed the top of one into the bottom of the other, which made it twice as long, and I raised it as high as I could, because the fence around the Mariamam temple is really, really high. You can't see over the top of it. Even a regular selfie stick, you're not going to make it to the top. So I put 2 together and I raised it over the fence just to see if I could capture some 360 video of what the temple looked like. So anyway, I did that. And then as I walked down the side street, I found a quiet spot where I could finally open up my knapsack and put my 360 camera away, switch over to my GoPro. And then from that point on, I was recording with GoPro number 1 in my hand, then GoPro number 2 on my chest harness. And then from there, I had to walk just one more block to get to M. Burger Kalinga, which is what I was looking for. And when I was there, I used my GoPros to record everything, and maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get into the details. And then I used my smartphone to capture a little bit of B-roll, because people talk about this. Your smartphone takes better video than your GoPro does, especially if you're talking about close-ups and things. And I thought about taking my Olympus with me, because you'd think it's a no-brainer. I have a micro four thirds camera, and everybody thinks about, micro four thirds. They sort of dismiss it because the sensor is too small. It's like, micro four thirds has such a small sensor. But it's a little bit of a confusion about the relative size of sensors, because the same people that will dismiss a micro four thirds camera because the sensor is too small, they will rave about the Sony ZV-1 or the Pocket 3, because cameras like that have a 1-inch sensor. And they go on and on and on about the high quality of the video because it has this huge 1-inch sensor. But of course, a micro four thirds sensor is much bigger than a 1-inch sensor. So in fact, you know, a camera like my Olympus, in theory, it's a no-brainer to bring it along for those occasions when I want higher quality video. But I do find it's a bit of a beast. So, you know, if I have a burger and fries in front of me and I want to capture some B-roll, you know, getting out my micro four thirds Olympus and turning it on and getting all the settings right and then holding it there and, you know, getting some fancy B-roll of my burger, it's too much work. And then the end result, to be honest, is not that great because there are too many manual settings on a camera like that, and I make so many mistakes. Focus won't be right, white balance won't be right, the exposure won't be right, and somehow, you know, a lot of things are automated on your phone. You just go to your camera app, and then in the menu it has a food setting. There you go, food, boom. And then I take pictures of my burger, and then I switch over to video, and then I kind of do this swooping motion, and I kind of do this as if I'm holding my camera on some sort of a wheeled mechanism, and I'm trying to get, you know, smooth video all the way around my burger. So that, you know, that's what I did with my smartphone, and it looks a lot better than the video would look coming from a if you did that with a GoPro, you know, GoPros aren't designed for that kind of video. The close focusing distance is much greater, so you're not going to get anything in focus, and it's just not going to look very good. So I did that with my smartphone, and I had my Rode Wireless Go microphones going. I only had one operational, one on my neck, and I had my second one in my pocket, and the idea in my head was I've been developing this system where I'm recording my voice with this Rode, but then if I would know I want to speak with someone else, I'll take Rode number 2 out of my pocket, and then I will clip it onto them. But while I was at Nasi Ayam restaurant here near my hotel, I was you know, capturing some video of the owner of the restaurant, talking with him. And at one point after my meal was over, I kind of went back to him and said, "Oh, I've got a couple of more questions. Can I ask you 1 or 2 more questions?" And they were just follow-up questions, and I didn't want to go to a whole hassle of, "Oh, can I put the microphone back on you?" You know? So all I did was take the second Rode and I held it in my hand kind of towards his mouth. And what I realized later on is that when I did that, that Rode captured reasonable audio of my voice and his. I was thinking originally that, okay, I'm going to get his voice on this Rode, my voice on this Rode, but it didn't really work out that well because it was capturing my voice in both of them, and there was actually a bit of a reverb, an echo. So I muted this audio and I used only this audio, and to my surprise, it captured both our voices in kind of a reasonable way. So that kind of made me think, in the future, that's what I should do, is just take out my second Rode, put it halfway between, like stand close to the other person, and then hold it out towards them, and it's going to record both our voices. So I had that idea in my head when I went there. So again, I'll talk about this a little bit later. So that's the whole kind of filming experience that I had. In terms of going to this restaurant and learning about it and taking video of it, that was quite an interesting experience. Because right from the beginning, for example, I thought it was M-Burger Kalinga. I thought that was the name of the place. I kept saying that over and over again, I think. But it turns out it's actually called M-Burger on the street, Kalinga. So that's why on Google Maps it's called M-Burger Kalinga, but in reality the name of the place is M-Burger, full stop. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And then when I got there, I had a really funny experience because I didn't really understand what this place was. I thought I knew what it was, you know, burger place. And then when I showed up, it looked like a very small kind of burger operation set back from the road such that it had kind of a courtyard, a couple of like really nice trees in there providing shade. And then they had 2 picnic tables with umbrellas over the picnic tables, and then 2 normal tables with chairs. And the chairs had, you know, backrests. And that's what I saw, like outdoor seating. And when I was on my way there, I was looking at Google Maps and I was a little bit annoyed or a little bit nervous because it said busier than usual. And I normally don't go to restaurants at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock because I don't like going during the lunch rush. I wait until the lunch rush is over and then I go into the restaurant. But because of the timing today, I just happened to be going there at lunchtime and it said busier than usual. So I was thinking, there's going to be a lot of people here and is there going to be a place to sit? And I was nervous about that. But then when I showed up, as I said, there were 4 tables. All of them are empty. And I saw one other customer, you know, there to pick up a home delivery or to eat there. I don't know. And then I thought, oh, busier than usual. That's weird. And the place looked completely empty. So I ordered my burger. They had a really great menu, a Planet Doug style menu, because I don't like being overwhelmed with a huge menu. Like, give me a 20-page menu of options and I freak out. There's too many choices. But this place, they know what they're good at. They know what they're all about. They are about beef burgers and chicken burgers. And they are high-level gourmet burgers. They make gourmet burgers, gourmet French fries. That's what they do. So on the menu, you've got your cheeseburger, you've got your double, which is, well, maybe it's like a burger and cheeseburger, and then you've got a double, and then you've got a double, right? So you can get your cheeseburger with 1 patty, you can get your cheeseburger with 2 patties, and 1 slice of cheese, or you can get double burger and 2 slices of cheese. And they got big pictures of each one of these burgers and 4 options. And you can get each burger with a drink. You know, you can get each burger on its own, or with a drink, or with fries, or with a drink and fries. So very, very simple. So of course I could just say I would like a cheeseburger with fries and a Coke. Perfect. So I love that. And then I sat down at one of the tables in the outdoor courtyard. And it was a very good experience. The burger came out and someone brought it to my table and I had my GoPro set up. Everything was ready to go to record my meal. The burger was amazing. Absolutely loved it. I found out more about it later on. The French fries were amazing. They were like crispy cut. They weren't like smooth French fries, but they were cut with ridges, you know, and had a chopped up green onion or scallop kind of spicing added to them. Really hot, crispy on the outside, tender on the inside. Really well done. The burger was delicious. And then it turned out that somebody in M-Burger recognized me. And they knew who I was. They knew about Planet Doug and the YouTube channel. And I guess it's my video from Nasi Ayam restaurant, the one where I was talking about using the microphone to talk to the owner. They had seen that Nasi Ayam video in particular. So when I walked up with my GoPro, someone in the kitchen or someone somewhere recognized me. And they're like, oh, that's, you know, that's the world famous Planet Doug. You know, we have an honored, you know, we have a famous celebrity coming to our burger place. And when the server brought my tray out to my table, she said that they had upgraded my burger to the double because, you know, they recognized me from YouTube. So that was really cool. Yeah, so I ordered, you know, the basic single patty cheeseburger, which I believe the burger alone was, you know, somewhere around 70 or 80,000 rupiah, with fries and a drink. It came to 100,000+. And then the double would be more, because you're getting 2 burger patties, 2 slices of cheese. But they upgraded me from my single regular cheeseburger to the double. And yeah, 'cause that was really nice. And so I had the meal, talked about it on camera, and I was taking video, B-roll, doing the whole thing. And then I was looking around me, taking in my surroundings, more and more details. I hadn't really noticed the trees and how nice the trees were, like coconut palm trees, until later. It's like, oh wow, those are really nice trees. And then they have a basketball backboard, like with a basketball hoop that says M-Burger on it, so you could play basketball out there. And I was kind of looking around, and it's like appreciating the place more and more. But then I noticed other customers arriving and then vanishing. Like people would come and get their burger, and I'd see them ordering at the window, and then I'd never see them again. It's like, where are, I kept seeing people coming, and then I was the only person sitting at any of the tables. So it's like, what is going on? And then I noticed these people were going into a door. So there was a wall right behind me. I didn't even see the door. I never noticed it. All these people were getting their burgers and then going through this door and disappearing. And I thought, oh, they have more seating in there. And I had no idea. I had no idea that there was another seating area. So of course I made a mental note, after my burger is finished, I've got to go check that out. So when my whole meal was done, I got up and I'm filming a little bit and talking about it. And I said on video, yeah, I've noticed people are going through this door, so they must have more seating in there. Let's go check it out. So I take my GoPro and I'm pointing it ahead of me. And I go through that door and I enter this fabulous cafe bakery. I couldn't believe it. It's like, what have I stumbled into? I had no idea that this place was even there. It was like stepping into paradise. I thought I would hear like, ah, the chorus of angels or something, because it was such a beautiful looking coffee shop, air conditioned, lots of seating, and there were like the beautiful young hip crowd seated everywhere with their MacBooks in front of them, their expensive laptops, their tablets. Everybody was, plugged into their ear pods or whatever they're doing, and they're all on their computers, everybody working. And it was like, I had no idea that this place was here. And as I looked around, I saw that the majority of the people were eating M-Burgers. So I guess, I was talking on camera and I was saying, oh, I guess this cafe bakery, this fancy high-end coffee shop, has made a deal with M-Burger that people can buy their food from M-Burger but bring it inside and eat it inside the cafe, probably as long as they order a coffee or a drink from the coffee shop. That's what I was assuming. And then I was looking around and I saw another door going somewhere else. This place was getting bigger and bigger. There was much more to this building than I realized. And I was about to go through the door, and then a woman came this way through the door, and she turned to me and said in English something like, oh, welcome. Welcome to, and I think this place was called Me and if I remember right, the woman said to me, oh, did you enjoy your burger? And that kind of got my attention. It's like, oh, are these two places connected somehow? So, when this woman came walking by me again, I stopped her and I asked her, oh, are you the owner of this place? And she said she was the manager. So I asked her, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions, on video? And she said that would be fine. And then I had this GoPro on my chest harness, both of my GoPros were recording, so I kind of had her on this video. And for whatever reason, I felt self-conscious about taking my other GoPro and pointing it at her. It felt rude for some reason because we had just started our conversation. Anyway, I didn't, but hopefully I got video from here. And so I was talking to her, asking questions, and then she explained to me that M-Burger and this place, Medan, were sister companies, the same owner. It wasn't that they were two companies and they made a deal. They were technically part of the same company. So that's why it was just such a natural thing for everybody to, you know, go order a burger and then bring it into the coffee shop because they were actually the same company. The seating in there was seating for the cafe and seating for the burger shop. And maybe you can even go in there and order a burger from their menu and they'll bring it to your table. That I don't know about. But anyway, I was like, oh. And I should have known about this, but I mean, I did go to M-Burger's Google Maps listing and I read all the reviews and I did all my usual, you know, research in advance. But I don't think anybody ever said anything about their connection to the coffee shop next door and talked about how you can sit in there and eat your burger. So it was sort of like, oh, that's what's going on here. But now I was starting to feel a little bit bad because the people at M-Burger recognized me as Planet Doug YouTuber and even gave me a special burger, and they were very happy and excited that I was there to make a video about their place. But there I was failing as a YouTuber because I didn't even know the full picture of what this place was about. I mean, when I got there, of course, I was talking about, oh, here's M-Burger and here's the seating for M-Burger, this picnic table. You know, they have an outdoor seating area, this courtyard, and that's all I knew about. So in a way, I was not showing them in the best light. Like, I wasn't showing the full picture in my video because I didn't know what the full picture was. So I was kind of giving them short shrift, if you know what I mean. But now that I knew, oh, so you even have this seating inside for M-Burger. Ah, okay. And I was thinking, you know, I was recording my meal experience outside, and I could have been doing it inside in this beautiful air-conditioned interior. And I was thinking, ooh, man, I made a mistake. I should have recorded my video in here. But then I realized, to be honest, it was actually better to be outside because I was the only person out there, and I could speak at a normal volume of my voice, and I could take video of the M-Burger operation. And so it was actually better to record the video outside the way I did. So that kind of worked out well. And then I think I ran out of questions to ask this woman. I was kind of taken by surprise by this whole thing. I was like fumbling a little bit. And I asked her, I think, well, is there anything else we should know? Like, I don't know what else to ask you. Like, what should we know about this place? And then she explained to me, well, their burgers are special because it's a 100% beef. Like, no filler of any kind. They don't add flour of any kind or eggs, or they don't do anything. It's 100% pure beef patty. And I guess that's unusual and makes them stand out from their competitors. And she says, well, and because this cafe is the sister company to M-Burger, we make all of our own buns as well, because in the back they have a bakery. And I was like, really? She says, yeah, do you want to come see? And then she took me to the back, to the door into the bakery, and I could shoot a little bit of video. And she told me that, yeah, all the goods in the cafe come from this bakery, and every morning we bake buns for our burgers fresh every morning here in this bakery. And I'm like, wow, okay, I had no idea what was going on in this place. So that was really interesting. And it was at this point that I made an interesting discovery. I was talking about the Rode Wireless Go and how when I was at the Nasi Ayam place, I discovered that it's not that bad. It works kind of well to take the second Rode and then just hold it in my hand towards the person I'm talking to. And then when I was speaking with the manager about their bakery, I was thinking, oh, I should get out my second Rode to record her voice better. But then I realized I don't actually have to do that. I can take this Rode and do the same thing. I don't want to make microphone noises, so I'll get out the another Rode just as an example. But normally I have a microphone clipped somewhere here underneath my shirt, only one of them. And then I realized, oh, I don't really need to get out a second one. All I need to do is reach under my shirt, grab this microphone, unclip it, and then I can hold it out. So I already have a microphone recording, and it's here to record my voice, but right in the middle of recording, I can just unclip it if I'm talking to someone and then go, oh, so tell me about M-Burger. And now that this is in between her and me, it's recording both of our voices. So it's like, I've developed a new Planet Doug technique. And I was very happy about that. It's like someone like Einstein, someone who can make logical leaps with their brain, would have thought of this ages ago. But for some reason, it never occurred to me that I could unclip this microphone, hold it in my hand, and then go, oh, so, what is your name? Oh, so you're the manager here at M-Burger. Or I can just hold it between us. It never dawned on me that I could do that. 5 years of shooting YouTube videos, and I finally figure out this obvious technique for recording with a wireless microphone. Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. But again, I haven't edited the video. I haven't watched any of it, so I don't know how well it worked out. We shall see. But anyway, so I was speaking with her about the bakery, and then we're leaving the bakery, and then I see a set of stairs going up to the second floor, and I see people sitting at a counter also working on computers. And I kind of look up there, and I said to the manager, oh, there's more up there. And she says, oh yes, that is our workspace. Now I was so startled, like, what? You also have a co-working space? And she says, yeah, we have a lot of people that come into our cafe and they bring in their laptops and they're working in there while they're enjoying their coffee. And, we encourage that. They use our Wi-Fi to get their work done. And then if one of them needs a quieter environment to do their work, or they have a Zoom meeting that they need to do, they can go upstairs and use our co-working space. So I was like, I can't believe it. I had no idea that was also part of the M-Burger experience. There's M-Burger, there's the Me and Cafe and Bakery, the co-working space upstairs. I was like, wow. The bakery operating out back. And then she says, yeah, and we have a yoga studio up there. It's like, what? Says, yeah, we have a yoga room, with a mirror. And so this place was getting bigger and bigger and more elaborate all the time. And I was feeling worse and worse that there I was, ostensibly to feature M-Burger in a YouTube video, and yet I didn't have the slightest clue what this place was all about. Luckily, I was figuring it out as I went, but it would have been nice to know this in advance. But in my defense, to be honest, when you show up at this place, unless you're Sherlock Holmes and you pick up on all the details, there was really no way to know. Well, I read the Google Maps listing, and then I went there and I ordered a burger and I ate the burger, and I didn't see anything obvious about, wow, this burger place is actually part of an entire complex of businesses and services. It took me a while to figure it out. And then things got even more interesting, because after I went upstairs and I took some video. Turns out that there were two spaces. There was another open space for people like sitting at tables and counters enjoying a burger and coffee. But then there was another entire room sealed in with a door, and that was the actual co-working area, was inside a sealed room, to keep the noise out. So it was even more advanced than I thought. And I went all the way up to the top, and looked at everything from the roof. And then I was done all the filming, and then I come back down. And then I see the manager, and she says to me, that, oh, we would like to give you a chicken burger to go. So while I was busy filming upstairs, they had prepared another burger for me and put it into a to-go bag, and she wanted to give it to me as a present, you know. So I guess being a YouTuber has its advantages. Of course, you know, in the moment, you can have a little bit of a, oh, you know, I don't want to accept anything for free, because as soon as you accept, you know, free gifts, you know, sort of like a YouTube camera reviewer, if, you know, Sony sends them the new camera for free, well, you obviously think, okay, they're going to be biased in their review because Sony gave them a free camera. So now they feel obligated to return the favor and say really good things about the camera. So you do get a lot of YouTube, you know, YouTube camera reviewers will specify, okay, I received no payment for this. This is not sponsored in any way. This is my honest opinion. Or they will say, okay, I admit, you know, DJI sent me this camera, or, you know, GoPro sent me the Hero 12 to review. Yes, but they have no input in my review. I am free to give you my honest opinion. You know, they have to give a disclaimer. They have to explain what's going on. And you could say the same thing about a restaurant. You know, if you get a free meal from the restaurant, well, now if you start saying the food is really, really good, can we trust your opinion? So you do have this little thing like, oh, you know, I can't accept a free chicken burger. I'm sorry, I can't accept it. I have to keep my principles intact as a YouTuber. But of course, you know, all of these things are on a spectrum. We are not talking about, you know, reviewing the latest $4,000 camera from Sony. You know, we are talking about a hamburger. And if they are, you know, they want to give me, you know, a chicken burger to take with me, obviously I'm going to say, yes, please, and thank you very much. That was a very kind gesture on their part. And of course, in this case, my review was already done, right? I mean, I'd already eaten the burger and talked about the French fries, and I said very good things about both of them. And I think the place stands on its own. You can just see the burger. Like when you see the video of my burger and fries, you don't even have to bite into it. You can tell by looking at it, okay, that is going to be a big burger. That is going to be a good burger. And then when you see the video of the cafe, it's like, wow, what a nice space. And then you see the bakery and the co-working space. You know, it's pretty obvious that, okay, this is a good place. You know, and getting a chicken burger for free at the end is not going to have any effect on my video about the place. But anyway, they gave me that to-go bag, and to be honest, even getting the chicken burger to go added more elements to my experience of the burger place, which was kind of interesting. Again, like I said, when I showed up at the place, I had a certain idea of what M-Burger was all about, and then I found out more and more and more and more, none of which I was aware of at the beginning. And then when they gave me my to-go bag, it was like more, like this is the to-go bag, you know, like check that out. It's like you just bought a $4,000 handbag from Louis Vuitton or Gucci. You know, it's a very nice paper bag, great logo on the front, M-Burger, which made it absolutely clear to me. It's like, oh, okay, it's not M-Burger Kalinga, it's just M-Burger. And there's their logo with the burger and a fist coming out. So very, very nice presentation. And then I brought this back here to my hotel, and I didn't eat it right away. I ate this in the evening as my dinner, and oh man, it was like one of the greatest moments of my life. You know, that might mean my life hasn't been very exciting, but man, oh man, I was, here in this room doing my usual Planet Doug life. I was copying video files, I was editing video, doing all these things. And then like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I was looking at this bag over there on the desk, and I thought, I think it's chicken burger time. And I started eating the chicken burger, and just the waves of pleasure to be sitting in here, because I don't usually eat at night. I don't generally have a dinner, like a second meal, and maybe I should, I don't know, because when I was eating this chicken burger last night, it was just like, oh, oh, it was so good. That chicken burger was as good as the burgers, if not better. Thick piece of chicken, so tasty, so delicious, and to be enjoying this in the comfort of my room here was so amazing. And then the surprises continued, because the chicken burger came in this lovely box, a cardboard sort of carton, very fancy, very elegant. And then I opened it up. It says on the front here, taste the real burger. And I open it up, and it has some writing on the inside there. And I was like, what does this say? And again, I didn't know any of this in advance. So I'll just read this aloud because it's quite interesting. It has a picture of a burger, like shining in the light, their big double, which is the burger I had for lunch. And it says, handcrafted from premium beef and high quality ingredients, designed by skillful hands to provide you the real taste, good quality of burger. But then it goes on, bringing you the exclusive experience with every bite you take that we call M experience. Marvelous, magnificent, majestic, mind-blowing, miraculous, and magical that you will never forget. Begin your adventure. Define your own M experience. Aha! Because I wondered, M burger, I had no idea what that meant. I started with this idea that this place is called M Burger Kalinga, and Kalinga's got a weird ring to it, almost like Caligula or something. It's kind of an unpleasant word in a way in English. But I figured out, okay, that's just the name of the street, Kalinga Street, and the place is called M Burger. Okay, I've got that straight in my head. And I kept wondering, M Burger, like, where did that come from? What does that mean? And in all my time at the restaurant, I never figured it out. I didn't ask. I should have asked, okay, what does M Burger mean? Why did you choose that name? But they chose that name because it's all about the M experience. Marvelous, magnificent, majestic, mind-blowing, miraculous, and magical. So the letter M. Maybe it comes from the name of the owner. Maybe that was the beginning of it, but they've adopted it and leaned into it and chose all of the best M words, that they could find. Magical, marvelous, mind-blowing. Pretty good letter, the letter M, when you start thinking about it. So, anyway, yeah, it was quite an interesting experience. Interesting filming experience. Oh, and again, as I was leaving, I took pictures with the staff. We posed for pictures, and they had some posters on the wall. And then they gave me a magic marker, a big thick black one, and said, would you sign one of our posters? So I went up there like I was some sort of a celebrity, and I write Planet Doug and the date, and I think I wrote, great burgers, exclamation mark, Basically, Planet Doug was here. And again, that made me think that if Planet Doug was like a successful brand and a successful YouTube channel, it would be nice to have stickers. I talked about that in the past, when I got my name cards made, which, by the way, was the best thing I've done for my YouTube channel. For me anyway, the way I use them and the way I feel about them. Getting name cards made was wonderful. I mean, I used to, as I talked about before, I've always had name cards because I hate the hassle of always having to write things down. This was back when I just had a website and people would say, oh, what's the name of your website? And I've got to get out a pen and write it down. And I eventually just made my own name cards on a piece of paper, and I cut them out with scissors, and I kept a stack of them in my wallet. And people said, oh, what's your name? What's your phone number? What's the name of your website? I just give them this piece of paper. But then when I was in Port Dickson in Malaysia, I went to a print shop, and they made official Planet Doug name cards for me, and I got them printed out. So even when I went to M-Burger, and I kind of used the cards to smooth out the experience and explain what I'm doing. So when I went up to the window and ordered my burger, then I grabbed their menu and I took my GoPro and I took video of the menu and I talked about the menu, and they can see me doing it, and I feel like I have to explain to them what I'm doing, and then I get out a bunch of name cards and I say, okay, I'm making a video for YouTube, this is my channel, and I hand out name cards to everybody. So I do that all the time. And at the time I was thinking, I should get stickers as well. And then, if you're in some situation like this, where they want you to sign the poster, you can put a sticker up there as well, Planet Doug sticker, something like that. So, but again, that would be for a very successful, popular brand and YouTube channel, which Planet Doug is not quite there yet, if it ever gets there, right? Anyway, so that was the end of my experience there, signing the poster, and I said goodbye, and then I left. And then I enjoyed my chicken burger here last night. But yeah, interesting experience, going to the restaurant, shooting video, all the mistakes I made, and then this gradual process of filling in the blanks of my knowledge. And I find that is a risk in shooting YouTube videos in general, especially when you're shooting them as a live experience, because this often happens where, I don't know, you go to a place like a temple, a famous temple, and you want to make a video about it. So you take your cameras and you go to the temple, and then you're talking about it and you're shooting all this stuff. And then later on, you're editing the video, and while you're editing the video, suddenly you learn all kinds of new things about the temple that you didn't know when you were there. And you're thinking, well, it's kind of silly now that in my video I didn't mention any of these things because I didn't know them at the time. And that happens all the time when you're shooting YouTube videos. And you kind of have to balance that a little bit. You want some spontaneity. I mean, you don't want to go somewhere and know everything, because if you already know everything, what's the point of going there? But you don't want to go there knowing nothing, because then you're just babbling like a moron and you have no idea what you're talking about, and your video ends up being incorrect or has no information at all. So you kind of end up having to balance it. And this was a really funny illustration of that, because M-Burger was so much bigger and involved and in a whole building complex, sister companies, co-working space, cafe, bakery, yoga studio, all in one. Outdoor seating, indoor seating, air conditioning, there was so much more happening there than I knew. But at least I eventually figured this out while I was still there, so I was able to record video. Though I must admit that while I was there, I kept having to reset, because I thought the video experience was over, and I would actually record a conclusion to the video and say, all right, so that was a M-Burger, here we are, and I'll see you in the next video, and I turn off the GoPro. But then I discovered a whole new side of this place, and I had to start up all over again. I ended the video, and then I discovered another new thing, and I had to restart over and over, so the video might end up being a little bit of a jumble, right? But anyway, that was my big Planet Doug experience from yesterday. But then came 2 smaller experiences and more experiences after that. So after I left from M-Burger, I ended up visiting another museum, the military museum. And this was a place I'd seen a few times walking by. And the first time I walked by, I wasn't in the mood to go in. I was really tired. And another time I walked by, it was the weekend and it was closed. But I ended up going there this time. But the way I ended up there was sort of an interesting experience, and it's kind of a callback to what I was talking about in terms of taking a Baychak and the prices and bargaining. So I took a Baychak to M-Burger, and then since they had given me my fancy to-go bag, and it it turns out there was a drink in there as well, which I didn't know, and that almost caused a disaster. But I did notice when they gave it to me, it felt really heavy. And I thought, oh, maybe it's a chicken burger and French fries and something else, because it felt pretty heavy. But I should have looked inside, but I didn't, because it was sealed. But it turns out that there was a drink in there in a plastic cup. And I ended up doing a whole bunch of things going back from M-Burger to my hotel. I walked the whole way and I visited 2 different places, and I was doing all kinds of camera stuff, and I kept putting down my knapsack, and and my knapsack would fall over, and of course I put the bag inside the knapsack eventually. I mean, at first I was carrying it in my hand because it was convenient, but then I wanted to start filming again, so I put it inside my knapsack and closed my knapsack thinking it would be okay, but it kept turning on its side because my knapsack kept falling over on the ground and things like that. And it could have been a disaster because there was a cup in there, a plastic cup with a plastic lid, and it was filled with some kind of a special Indonesian soft drink. And the whole thing spilled out. But they had put it inside a plastic bag, and then they put a zip tie really tight around the top of the plastic bag. And that saved me, because this was sitting on top of all my camera gear. And then when it spilled, if there had been no bag, all of that soda would have drenched all of my camera gear. And oh man, that would have been bad. But it turns out they had a zip tie on it, and even though all the soda had spilled out of the cup into the plastic bag seal held it, and it didn't burst. So it was like I got it back into my room and I opened it and I went, oh man, that was lucky. That could have been a disaster. But anyway, I left from M-Burger with my knapsack and this bag in my hand, and I was thinking I was just going to take a Baychak back to my hotel. And near my hotel, there's a big fancy hotel called the Swiss Berlin. And I thought if I talked to a Baychak driver, I could tell him, take me to the Swiss Berlin Hotel. That's a local landmark. They can drop me off there, and then I just go around the corner to my low budget hotel, because he won't know my hotel. But anyway, I had trouble finding a Baychak, but then I crossed the street because there were a bunch of them in front of Sun Plaza. And there was a bunch of Baychak there and a bunch of drivers sitting, waiting for customers. And then they kind of waved at me and said, oh, you Baychak. So I went up to one of the guys and I told him I would like to go to the Swiss Berlin Hotel. And again, I had a photograph of it I found on Google Maps, because he didn't seem to know he didn't recognize my pronunciation of Swiss Berlin or whatever. So I showed him a photograph, and he didn't really recognize that either. But then all the Baychak drivers chatted, and then they talked about what neighborhood it was in, and finally he was like, oh, yeah, I know where you want to go. Okay, let's go. But of course I was hesitating, and I said, well, how much? No, I'm no dummy. I'm not going to get in your taxi, in your Baychak, and go all the way to my destination before we at least talk about the price, And I talked about that already. Like, I don't mind paying the foreigner price, but we should, have a little bit of an idea of what the price is going to be before we start, right? And so I said to him, berapa harganya? And he's like, oh, yeah. He knew what I was saying, but he was ignoring me. And then we got to the Baychak, and he's like, go, we go. And I says, wait a second, berapa harganya, Swiss Berlin? And he's like, oh, okay, no problem, go, let's go, He didn't want to tell me the price because, of course, he was going to overcharge me when we got there, you know, that's just a common trick that everybody uses. So again, I stood my ground and I said, no, no, like, I asked again, berapa harganya? And then he went into his pocket and he pulled out 50,000, like a blue 50,000 rupiah note, and he showed it to me, this much. And then I just said, no, sorry, you know, that's, like I said, I don't mind paying the foreigner price. The regular price would be 20,000. If he'd said 30,000, no problem. If he'd said 40,000, yeah, okay, because, you know, it's gonna, I know that there are some difficult roads, a lot of traffic we've got to navigate. I've told him I'm going to a fancy hotel. It's like, oh, this tourist, you know, he's got money. He doesn't know that I'm staying in a low budget hotel. So I'm thinking even 40,000 just for convenience, sure, let's go. I'm not going to argue with the guy. But somehow 50,000, I was like, okay, that's 2.5 times the normal rate. I felt like he was taking advantage of me as a foreigner. And I thought, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I made an instant decision. Okay, no, I'm just going to walk. Because already taking the becak had been a bit of a problem. I was on one side of the street and I thought, oh, it'll be nice to take a becak. Sure, you know, I can go back, I won't be hot and sweaty, this will be nice. So it was like an impulse thing. But there I was standing at the side of the road waiting, and becaks would go by, but they all had people already in them. And there's a huge amount of traffic, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting. So I was already waiting a long time to get a becak. It was turning into a bit of a problem already, and I couldn't get one. So I thought, okay, let's cross the busy street, because there's a whole bunch of them in front of the Sun Plaza Mall. It was really hard to get across the street, but then I crossed the street, and now I had to have this big conversation with these guys about where I wanted to go, a lot of showing pictures, looking at Google Maps, discussions. It was becoming more and more and more complicated. And then the guy, you know, wouldn't tell me how much it was going to cost. And now we're going to have a big discussion about the price. We're going to have to negotiate and bargain. And it was like, okay, this is becoming way too much trouble. This is why I walk everywhere, to avoid all of this hassle. Because it's only 1.5 kilometers away, and already it had taken so long to get to this point. If I just started walking, I would have been halfway back to my hotel by now. So as soon as the guy showed me 50,000, I was irritated, and I just went, no, forget it. And I just started walking. And then I could hear him behind me saying, well, how much? How much? You know, he wanted to negotiate. He wanted to bargain. And I just turned around and kind of looked at him and said, no, you know, no. Jalan. I will walk. You know, I don't want to debate the price with you. So I just left him and I just went walking. And it worked out very well for me, because I really enjoyed the walk back. I much prefer walking because you see so many things. And then I went right by the military museum. And to be honest, I was pretty tired. I'd run out of GoPro batteries just about. Memory cards were filling up. I had the chicken burger in a bag, and it's like, should I? But I thought, okay, when in my life am I ever going to be back here again? Like, just go in for 5 minutes. Just check the place out. So then I put the chicken burger in my knapsack, you know, promptly spilled the drink. And then I got my GoPros ready, and I crossed the road, and I went into the military museum to look around. And shot video while I was there. It turned out it wasn't a big place. I wasn't even sure it was open, because on the sign on the outside it said it closed at 2:30, I think, and it was like just about 2:30 when I was there. And when I went into the entranceway, there was obviously a desk with a visitor's book, and you're supposed to sign in, but there was nobody there. There was no ticket counter, so I wasn't sure what to do. But I thought, oh, I don't know, I'll go in, and if somebody tells me, no, you know, closed, fine, but I'll go in anyway. And I went up to the second floor, and there were 3 rooms up there. And the 3 rooms basically had a collection of guns. So almost the entire museum that was open to me at that point consisted of guns on display, you know, Vickers machine guns and mortars and a whole bunch of rifles and pistols, a variety of weaponry on display. And I walked around and talked about them a little bit and shot video. And there were paintings on the wall, mainly from the Indonesian independence struggle against the Dutch, when there was fighting between them and the Dutch. And these paintings commemorated battles, well-known battles with the Dutch. And I took video of that. But then just as I was leaving, suddenly more people showed up, and every group that came in had a soldier with them. They each had a soldier in full camouflage walking with them and talking about all the different exhibits, you know, as a guide. And then one of these guys broke off and came with me. He wanted to take a picture with me, so we posed for a picture, and then he sort of walked with me through the rest of the museum. And reading the Google Maps reviews now, it seems like this might be a requirement, that when you show up in normal operating hours and there's someone at the visitor's desk and you sign in, it sounds like you will automatically be assigned your own soldier as an escort to bring you through. And if you speak Indonesian, you know, they will give you a guided tour in Indonesian. Perhaps they have an English speaker, I don't know, but like when I showed up, the whole place was empty. So I just went through the whole museum by myself. And maybe I wasn't supposed to do that, but again, I didn't know. But anyway, towards the end, I had a soldier with me. And then when I was finished my tour completely, then I went outside. And then there was somebody at the visitor desk, and they asked me to sign in, and they said, you can give a donation if you like. There's no entrance fee, but there was a box there. So you can, you know, leave your comments, sign in, and then you can put a donation in the box, which I did. And then that was my visit to the military museum, completely by accident. Will I complete that video and post it? I probably will. But it'll be a short, like, you know, 10-minute Planet Doug video about this one museum with no lead in or anything like that. So we'll see how that goes. And then I did one more thing, one more Planet Doug event on that day, yesterday. I kept walking from the military museum, and I knew there was one more place that I had in the back of my mind that I wanted to check out. And this was a kind of a restaurant coffee shop. I'd gone by it a number of times. I could see the building. It was an old heritage building, part of the history of Medan, 3 floors. And then on the second and third floor, there were open balconies, you know, like with verandas, like veranda doors that open, tables there. Looked very, very nice, very interesting place to sit. And it was called Coffee Box. And I looked it up on Google Maps. I did some reading about it. It had a very good reputation. I think it had a reputation for being expensive, that they charged a lot. But it looked like an interesting place to at least check out. I figured I could go in and get a drink, sit down, have a drink, take some video of the place, and then out the door. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Like normally, I think on a normal Planet Doug video, all of these things would have been included in one video. You know, Baychak ride to Sun Plaza, walking to M Burger, looking at the Hindu temple, leaving M Burger, going to the military museum, going to Coffee Box, then back to my hotel. It would have been a video about my whole day with a stop at each of these places. But the way I shot the video at M Burger, in my mind, that was going to be one video on its own. So because that's one video on its own, the military museum will be one video on its own, and then Coffee Box will be one video on its own. And I don't know that it will be a very interesting video, but you know, a little video, 5 minutes long, who knows, basically saying, oh, here's a place you can check out if you're in Medan. Coffee box. This is what it looks like. But it turns out it wasn't as nice for me as I had hoped, because the third floor with all the balconies was kind of closed off. I thought it was part of the restaurant, but it wasn't. That seemed to be not part of the restaurant. There were prayer rooms up there, and I think it was like a place where the staff can hang out or the family lives. I don't know. But it turns out there weren't as many window seats as I thought there were. From the outside, I saw lots of window seats, and some of them were empty. The ones on the third floor, there was nobody sitting in them. So I thought, oh, that's amazing. I can go straight in there, up to the third floor, take a seat in the window, shoot video. This is going to be great. But it turns out only 2 floors, the first floor and the second, and it was packed with people. Almost all the tables, well, all the tables in the window were filled. So I wasn't able to sit in the veranda, in the balcony area. And then outside, a lot of smokers, like cigarette smoke was like filling the whole air, and there was music playing, and it just was not a comfortable place to sit. So I ended up sitting at a table on the inside, which was nice because it was air conditioned and stuff like that. And I ordered a matcha tea with jelly. And again, it did seem quite expensive because my matcha tea was over 40,000 rupiah. And like a 40,000 rupiah is a good meal, right? And looking at the menu, the prices were pretty high. So you're paying for the modern ambiance of this place. It's a heritage building, but kind of a high-end sort of ambiance to the place. And a lot of wait staff, and very technical, very advanced. From the outside, I thought it would be a very cool heritage building with no modern conveniences, very old school, very traditional. But no, it was all very, very modern with, digital placement of your order. So even when my drink was done, I got up and I was like, okay, how do I pay? They says, oh no, you have to pay on the main floor, because your order goes into a computer system and your bill is transmitted to the main floor, the main cashier, and you go up to the main cashier and she has to go to a big, like some sort of a monitor that was away from the cash register, look at your table number, see your order, transfer it to the cash register. It's all done digitally. And then they had like 7 separate machines for every kind of digital payment platforms, swiping and e-wallets and debit cards and credit cards, and that, that's the kind of place it was. It was not an old-fashioned traditional cafe atmosphere, which is what I really liked about Tip Top. Tip Top had stayed traditional. They weren't messing around with any modern stuff. It was all handwritten bills, stamp pads, stamp, 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 stamp the date on your paper bill. I really like that about Tip Top. But Coffee Box was a very modern place. And yeah, but I enjoyed checking the place out. I wouldn't go back there. It's not my kind of place. I will, if I wanted to hang out, have a cup of coffee, and fiddle around on my laptop or something, I wouldn't go to Coffee Box. I would go to M-Burger. Their co-working space is more modern, more suited to a modern fellow like myself, So that was kind of funny. Yeah, and that was the last thing I did. From there, I walked back to my hotel. Crazy thing is, I went down a whole bunch of new roads. I didn't go back along the roads I was familiar with. I walked down some side roads that I'd never gone down before, and every single side road had 10 more like restaurants and cafes that would be an interesting place to check out for a YouTube video. You could just snack and eat your way up and down every single one of these roads in Medan and never run out of places to check out. So yeah, if your goal is to see everything in Medan and have all the experiences here, yeah, you're never going to leave, because you're never going to run out of new places to check out. You just have to make the decision at some point, okay, I'm done, go on to the next place, right? But anyway, yeah, I saw a whole bunch more places that would be interesting, places that proudly said in signs on the outside, you know, we've been here for over 100 years, since 1919, you know, serving the best seafood since 1912, you know, really old traditional restaurants that have been there for, you know, well over 100 years. And I passed a whole bunch of places like that. Yeah, kind of interesting. But I did not stop at any of them because by then I was done for the day. You know, I was exhausted. I was ready to come back here. Well, that was a very long story about a Planet Doug adventure, about my M-Burger experience with the military museum and coffee box folded in. But maybe I'll end today's behind the scenes with a quick run through of some YouTube stories. And the first one is from the Lost Boys, and I want to talk about them because they are still here in Sumatra, and I just watched their latest video, which is called Exploring Indonesia's Most Underrated Province. And by underrated province, they mean Aceh province. And I have to go to Aceh province next. I don't really have a lot of days left, unfortunately. I wasted, you know, looking back now, I can see, you know, I did it because I was not in the mood for YouTube when I first got here, like back in December. And I wasn't in the greatest mood, so I was really just hanging out in Medan, not doing any YouTube sort of things. And then I let a lot of time go by. It was raining a lot, and then the holidays came, so I lost a lot of time. And I wish I had that time now because I'm feeling more inspired. But anyway, I don't have the time left to do all the other things I wanted to do after Medan, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, I have to go to Aceh province anyway because I have to go to Banda Aceh to catch my flight back to Kuala Lumpur. But anyway, the Lost Boys, the last we saw them, they were still, I think, in North Sumatra. They went into one of these national parks to do the orangutan trek, to go into the jungle, spend 2 nights camping and look for orangutans. And now in this video, they rode their motorcycle all the way from the orangutan place all the way to Banda Aceh city. And that is a long journey. And what I found really interesting about their video is that they followed the coastline. So they rode their motorcycle along the coast all the way to Banda Aceh. And I have done that exact same journey, but I did it by bicycle. But this was before I was a YouTuber, so I didn't record my bicycle journey along the coast by, you know, on video for YouTube, but I rode my bicycle all the way along the coast where they rode their motorcycle. And that journey, which took me, you know, many days to complete, they did that whole journey in 1 day on the motorcycle, all the way from a city called Takonggon, which is beside a lake up in the mountains. They rode all the way from Takonggon to Banda Aceh in 1 day. So I think, again, I have to read between the lines because they don't really say this, but I think they rode from the orangutan trek to Takonggon in 1 day, spent 1 day in Takonggon, and then they rode 1 day from there all the way to Banda Aceh, or maybe not. Maybe I think they stopped on the coast for 1 night, and then they rode all the way from there to Banda Aceh. But anyway, when they got to Banda Aceh at the end, they basically talked a lot about how much their butt was hurting. It was like, man, that was a long, long day on the motorcycle, you know, to ride all the way to Banda Aceh. And I can understand because, you know, I did that whole ride by bicycle. But the one thing I didn't do, I've never been to Takonggon, and I really wanted to go there. It's because what I did, I went from Lake Toba, I rode my bike from Lake Toba to the coast, and then followed the coast all the way to Banda Aceh. But there's another road that goes from Lake Toba through the middle of Sumatra. That's where all the orangutan trekking is, and then it follows the center of the mountain range, and the road goes to a place called Takongon, which is a large city beside a lake right up in the middle of the Sumatran mountains. And I really wanted to go there, and now I wish I had taken the time to go there. On this trip, you know, on my list for this trip, I wanted to go there. I had plans to go there, but it looks like I'm not going to have time again because I kind of didn't follow through on my plans as I had hoped. Anyway, they did go to Takongon, but they only spent 1 day there. I would spend at least a week there. It looks like an amazing city. Very few people would ever go there. Gorgeous lakeside, gorgeous mountains. I mean, I think it would be worth coming back to Sumatra again just to go to that lake, you know, just to go to Takongon. But again, I would want to do it by bicycle, but yeah, don't really have the time or the budget to do that anymore. But anyway, we'll see. So anyway, they went to Takongon, they spent 1 day there, and they went to a coffee plantation, and then they went to a specialty coffee place, and they highlighted, you know, talked a lot about with the farmers and with the coffee growers and with the coffee grinders, you know, what kind of coffee they make, how they grow the coffee beans, how they process them, dry them, roast them, grind them up and sell them, and then they sampled all the coffee. I found that really, really interesting, a very interesting part of their video. And I like it when the Lost Boys do things like that rather than just riding their motorcycles. They would stop and have these experiences along the way. That's my favorite part of their videos. But of course, the Lost Boys, as I've been joking about, they say guys a lot. And for this video, they have a GPM rating, a guys per minute rating of 2.3, which is pretty high. So 77 guys in 34 minutes. So yeah, they GPM of 2.3, that is pretty high. But they're almost getting to the end of their trip, where once they get to, you know, they're in Banda Aceh, they're going to shoot some video in Banda Aceh, then they're going to go to Pulau, the island of Pulau, the city of Sabang, and that's going to be the end of their journey. And they've taken 7 months to ride from Jakarta to Pulau. I don't know if they're going to take their motorcycles to Pulau because you have to get there by ferry. Probably they can put their motorcycles on some kind of a boat, but maybe not. You know, I'm not sure if they're going to do that or not. But their journey is going to end there after 7 months. 7 months of constant traveling through Sumatra, which is pretty amazing. And they went everywhere. And oddly enough, you know, to be honest, I was expecting their videos to be more popular than they are based on the adventurous quality of their journey, you know, doing very adventurous things, traveling by motorcycle. 2 of them, and I guess you could say both of them are, you know, they're young, good-looking guys, high energy, they're entertaining, and with people's interest in motorcycle journeys, you know, you'd think they would be up in the range of, you know, 200,000-300,000 views per video. I mean, they're not going to be at the Itchy Boots level of 1 to 2 million views per video. They're not in the Itchy Boots level, but I would have thought they'd get hundreds of thousands of views. But in my experience, I think they're, you know, they're more in the like 25 to 50,000 views per video. Let me look them up real quick. Maybe over time, their videos amass more and more views. But I know this recent one in Aceh, 33. So it's been up for 16 hours, 33,000 views. The video before this has been up for 1 week, has 83,000. The one before that was 2 weeks ago, 74,000. So they post 1 video per week, and over time, the video climbs up to 100,000 views in 1 month. And then in 2 months, okay, it climbs up to 200,000 views. And then videos of theirs. Okay, they're doing, yeah. From 4 months ago, 400,000. The more exciting looking ones, 1 million. Okay, so they are up there. I was going to say I'm surprised that their videos don't get more views than they do, but over time, yeah, they're up there in the million, anywhere from 300,000 to 1.5 million views. Yeah, so they're doing really, really well, and they're making more than enough money from their videos to pay for the entire trip and just keep on traveling. That's yeah, they're doing it. They're doing YouTube right from that point of view. So yeah, that's I think that's all I wanted to say about that video. I enjoyed it because they went two places that I know quite well, and they went to a place that I've wanted to visit and I've never actually gone to. The Takangon, that city and that lake. Yeah, so that was the latest video from the Lost Boys. And my last YouTube story for today is kind of a new guy that I just discovered. I stumbled across this guy because he was also in Sumatra very recently, and he was even here in Medan. And this guy calls his channel Jason Billam Travel. And the video I wanted to talk about is his video from Medan. And the video is called My First Day in Medan, Largest City in Sumatra, Indonesia. So it's kind of funny. He does call the video My First Day, but as far as I can tell, it was his only day here. He flew here from Kuala Lumpur, and then he stayed in a guest house about 1 hour outside of Sumatra. I don't know why he went there. I guess he had the idea that being in a small guest house more in the countryside would be more interesting than being in downtown Medan. So I guess he landed here. He has no video about this. He doesn't have any video about coming here, traveling from the airport, going to his guest house. I haven't seen anything about that. But then he woke up the next morning, and then I guess he took a Grab motorcycle from an hour outside into Medan. He has no video of that either. His video opens with him at the palace, the May Moon Palace here in Medan. So that's where his video starts. And then he shot basically one video about 1 day here in Medan. And he started at the May Moon Palace, and then he walked around this area, like where I've been spending all my time. He walked around this whole area. So he went from the palace to the mosque to a Soto Medan place, Medan soup restaurant, which is very famous. He went to the Tip Top restaurant, same place I went to, and then he went to the Jong Afi mansion, same place I went to, and then I think that was it for his day. And he recorded a little bit of video at each of these places, and then the rest of the video is him back at his guest house. And then the day after that, he took, or that very night I think, he took a night bus, like 14-hour night bus from Medan to Banda Aceh. I didn't realize the bus ride to Banda Aceh was so long, 14 hours. I thought it was a lot closer than that. So yeah, we'll see. That might be in my future as well, except I would hope to ride the bus during the daytime. I'm not a big fan of nighttime bus trips. But anyway, his video, as I said, was one video about Medan, and he went to all these places. And, there's nothing terrible about his video. It's fine. Nothing amazing about his video either, I would say. He was surprisingly knowledgeable for a guy who only spent 1 day here and spent very little time at each place. He seemed to know what he was talking about, which kind of surprised me. So he did do some reading, maybe while he was there or beforehand. So he knew things about the Sultan of Delhi, for example. When he went to the palace, You know, he said, okay, the Sultan is called the Sultan of Delhi, which is kind of weird. Like, why isn't he the Sultan of Medan or the Sultan of Sumatra? But it's because of the Delhi River. And then the Sultan, I mean, this area was known, the names were based on the Delhi River. And I knew that because I've done a lot of reading and I've been here for a long time. But I was surprised that he knew that. And then when he went to have Soto Medan, he knew a lot about how it was prepared and the spices and what it was supposed to be like. He knew the names of ingredients and other dishes. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, pretty good marks for that. He just seemed to know more about things than I expected. So, you know, I kind of appreciated that about him. And he's clearly moving very quickly, so he's a much more intelligent YouTuber than I am. He's not at the level of, you know, the Lost Boys or Itchy Boots. If I look at his channel, he has a surprising number of subscribers. Wow, I wasn't expecting that at all. 580,000 subscribers. He's a young guy from the UK, you know, Jason Billam, traveling on his own. And he says he's been a full-time vlogger since 2017. That's a long time. He has 372 videos on his channel. And if I look at his recent ones, it's kind of funny. The one I've been talking about here in Medan, 23,000 views. And then he traveled to Aceh. So the story about the bus ride to Aceh, 12,000. Then a video in Banda Aceh, 16,000. Then he went to Pulau himself, 7,000. Then he went to, a video about this tropical island, about 10,000. Then he went orangutan trekking, 7,000. Lake Toba, 7,000. Then he went to Kuala Lumpur, so he actually has a video right now, Why I Love Kuala Lumpur. And of course, that is a title designed to appeal to the Malaysian audience. And that video already has 30,000 views. But the view count, I mean, his videos are more popular than mine. But to be honest, the number of views doesn't match the number of subscribers. Kind of, if you have 580,000 subscribers, feels like you should have more views than that. But he does move pretty fast, which is good for YouTube. 5 months ago, he was in Japan. Then 4 months ago, Mongolia. Then he went from Mongolia to Bangkok. And then from Bangkok to Sumatra, then Sumatra, you know. So every month, he's in a new country, a new place. And I guess depending, he was in India for a while. And if I click on most popular, I'm curious how many views his most popular videos get. Yeah, going back 5 years, there's a video with 5 million views, 2 million views, 800,000, 800,000, 800,000, 800, 800, 800. And these are all in places like Algeria, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Bangladesh, 600,000. So I imagine that's where his yeah, I think I know about this guy from before. I think I've come across him, but I haven't watched a lot of his videos. Oh yeah, one interesting thing about him, I mean, the thumbnails from his older videos don't look very fancy, and his latest videos, yeah, the thumbnails are all quite, you know, boring, to be honest. It's just a screenshot from the video, and they're almost all identical. It is interesting that when people take a screenshot of their video, it almost always has the same orientation, because I tend to hold my GoPro in my right hand, so the video will have me in the video frame from, you know, this side of my face. It's not as common for me to hold the GoPro in my left hand, So when you see GoPro thumbnails, they always look the same because he's always holding his GoPro in the same way, getting video of his face. So he's always here looking in this direction, you know, every single thumbnail. And then occasionally he'll put a word on the thumbnail. His Lake Toba has a video, has a Lake Toba on it. But all of his other videos in Sumatra have got nothing, like no text, no graphics, no fancy anything at all. Going back in time, his Japanese videos has kind of Hiroshima, Osaka, Kyoto, you know, some words on the text. A little bit fancier. He put some work into the thumbnails for India and Japan. For Sumatra, no work at all. And then going back in time, Morocco, Philippines, Dominican Republic, all of those are just screenshots with no text, like nothing fancy at all. And his videos, like the ones I've seen recently, they're very, very standard. He's shooting with one camera and it opens with him talking. You know, I'm in the city of Medan, this is the palace and Sultan of Delhi, and now let's walk to the next place. And it's just basically linear account of where he goes and what he does. There's nothing, you know, like even if you want to talk about the, you know, the super amazing Planet Doug video editing experience, you know, where I'm filming from 2 GoPros at the same time so I can switch from one to the other, or super exciting, you know, 360 video from above on the bait check, or occasionally mounting a camera some distance away and then me walking through the frame, you know, playing a little bit of music here and there, some montages, putting in some photos. You know, I think of that as very, very basic video editing, and I'm very, very amateurish in the way I go about it. But even that amateurish level of editing takes a long time to do and represents a lot of work, a lot of hours, you know, surprising number of hours. But he doesn't do any of that. He just basically shoots and he's done, you know, linear with the GoPro, and then he's finished. And it works for him, so that's great. But what I wanted to say is that when I got to the end of his video, I was surprised at how fancy his end screen was. Because I don't do anything. I mean, ages ago, I remember YouTube gave us these tools where you can put things at the end of your video, because if someone watches your video all the way to the end, you want them to watch another one of your videos, you know, marketing and branding, stuff like that. So they give you tools that at the end of the video, you can put a subscribe button, a link to your Instagram, I guess, things like that. And then you can offer links to your other videos, like say, oh, if you enjoyed this video from Planet Doug, why not watch this video? And then you have a thumbnail from other videos, you know. And you can do this and make it fancy or less fancy depending on your skill level, I guess. And you see it on YouTube all the time, and a lot of people do it in such a way that just annoys the heck out of me, because they're very lazy about it. And you can go into the YouTube system, the automated system, and just go click, 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 and go put a thumbnail here, 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 here. But the way it works out is that YouTube will put it over top of the last 15 seconds of video. So it's actually obscuring the video. And quite often there's a video that has an ending and is showing something important, but now all of these big thumbnails are obscuring the subject of the video. And I'm like, oh, come on. I mean, if you're going to go to all the trouble of putting the thumbnails at the end, at least think ahead, tack on some empty video time, and then you can put your fancy YouTube thumbnails there, and don't cover up your own video. But a surprising number of people do that. But anyway, I have not done anything like this for a long time, because by the time I do the video title, the video thumbnail, the video description, uploading, editing, I am finished. I'm exhausted. And now the idea of all this SEO stuff, hashtags and branding, and please like, subscribe, and comment, and click here, and follow me on. I just don't have the energy to do it, and I just don't bother. But I was watching Jason Billam's video, and at the end of the video, he had a really nice end screen. It was just gorgeous. Yeah, I'll take a screenshot and put it in the video. And I was looking at that and going, I like that. And then I thought to myself, a Planet Doug needs that at the very least. I like that a lot. And I thought, okay, let's look into this. But then I started, I went to, one of my videos on YouTube, and I went to the YouTube tools where you insert these sorts of things, but I didn't see any way to build anything that looks like that, and I was like, oh, for Pete's sake. It's like, it's another one of these technology things where it seems like you want to do something simple, but I'm pretty sure that if I sit down right like today and I try to put something like this together, I'll be here for a week doing research and trying to figure out, like, how do you do this? It's going to take me a week to figure this out, and do I want to invest that much time just so I can have this at the end of my video that, to be honest, nobody really cares about? I think it looks good and it's interesting, but in my own lifetime, I have never clicked on any one of these things ever. Like, I know what I want to watch on YouTube. So you get a YouTuber that says, I visited Sumatra before. If you want to see my Lake Toba video, click here. And they put a clickable link up at the top of the video. And if you want to see my trip to Tokyo, click here. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, click here, I have never in my entire life ever clicked on one of those. And I kind of resent them telling me to do it. It's like, listen, if I want to watch your video from Tokyo, I will go to your channel and I will find your video from Tokyo. I'm not going to click on your link anyway. So to me, all of that stuff is useless. And same thing with hashtags. Everybody talks about hashtags all the time and how important they are and how people can click on them to do this. But they don't make any sense to me. I've started putting a few hashtags in my videos recently. And it's just because I've been getting all these emails from SEO freelancers who are offering their services, and they're saying, oh, we've examined your YouTube channel and it is a disaster. Your SEO score is like below 0. You don't do anything, and we would like, hire our company and we will help you with your SEO. It just got me thinking about it a little bit. So I kind of spend more time on my videos, just the last couple of ones. Occasionally I'll have a burst of energy and I put in chapter titles, for example, and then I'll put in some hashtags, and I wrote a little bit of a video description again. But again, the hashtags, I don't understand them because, I go to the Chong A Phi mansion here in Medan. So you put in hashtag Chong A Phi mansion, and if somebody clicks on that hashtag, it opens up, I guess, a window of all YouTube videos about Chong A Phi mansion. But how does that help me and my YouTube channel? Basically, it's showing them other people's videos about the same thing that my video is about, right? Isn't that how hashtags work? Friends of mine had said, no, it's an advantage for you, because if you put hashtag Chong A Phi in your video and somebody searches for Chong A Phi, your video will come up in their search. And I have two problems with that. One, I almost never do things like that. Like, I don't enter search terms into Google like, oh, I want to find videos about Germany, and I don't type Germany into the search bar for some reason. I don't know. And it seems like Chong A Phi is in my video anyway. Like, it's going to be in the title, it's going to be in the video description, it's all over the place. So, and I say Chong A Phi in the video over and over. Doesn't AI analyze what I say in the video? So they have a complete script, they have all the captions. So why does putting Zhong-Afi as a hashtag, why is that any improvement over having Zhong-Afi in the video title or the video description? Anyway, I don't understand any of the importance of this SEO stuff, and I normally don't do it. And it takes a long time to do anyway, and I'm not convinced of its utility. But I really do like the way that looks, and I'd like to figure out how to set that up. I'm pretty impressed with that he had the skill to do that, but we'll see. And I think that takes us to the end of my thoughts for this morning's behind the scenes. I certainly talked about M-Burger a lot longer than I thought I was going to, or that I planned to, but it did seem like it was a kind of an interesting experience, from a Planet Doug experience, from a life experience, and just from a video shooting experience. So it kind of felt like there was a lot to talk about there in terms of a behind the scenes approach to what I did, and when I went to get my my double cheeseburger and then my gift of a chicken burger to take home with me. I'm still dreaming about that chicken burger. That was so amazing. That was one of the best meal experiences of my life. I enjoyed that so much. So yeah, big shout out to the good people of M-Burger out there. All right, so I think I'm shutting down, and that's it for this morning, and I will see all of you in the next video. And maybe that video will have an amazing title screen at the end. Stay tuned to Planet Doug and find out. Later.